Well, thanks for having this chat with me, Shiv. I really do appreciate it.
Absolutely.
I've been really excited to talk to you because I love the times when this technology, blockchain, goes away from the simply theoretical and the ambiguous into the practical. And you've been working really hard for a while at bringing it to real life for normal consumers. How is it that you came about this idea of bringing this industry of entertainment into the world of blockchains, or the world of blockchains into music, into the industry?
So what happened was I was doing a lot of different things. I owned a share of a music festival.
Festival?
It was called Adventure in the Park in New Jersey.
Okay.
We tried to get 20,000 people in there. Lil Wayne was a headliner, and so it came from my passion for music that I invested in that, and I also, as a part of that, I bought a share of another company called Hyperglow, and really got to see what kids on the street going out and trying to sell tickets for these festivals,
right,
how they were doing, what they were doing wrong, and we realized that we were losing a lot of money to these kids who were kind of scalpers,
yeah,
and kids who were just pocketing money. And so I saw this initial problem, and I thought, geez, I could do well if I could try to find a way for these kids to actually give me all the money.
Did the problem happen before the solution was realized? The
problem was absolutely there, and I figured out that problem before I saw the solution. And so there's another, same time, sort of maybe 6 months later, there's a friend of mine, Faisal Hussein, who runs a company called Synchron.
Mm-hmm.
They do a lot of blockchain consulting for banks. And we met up at Starbucks, and we were just having a chat about, blockchain.
Right.
He was like, well, it's so early in blockchain that you should really get into it and start thinking about, what to do. And I was like, let me read the book. I realized that, man, I could kind of solve this ticketing issue that I've got over here. And so I started putting together a business plan, and then I took the business plan to Silicon Valley. And I shopped it around. It was beginning of 2015.
Okay.
I took it down Sandhill Road to a whole bunch of VCs, seed, early stage VCs, and
right,
no one was interested. Everyone was like, blockchain, what,
Yeah, it's drug money.
Yeah, no one cared. No one really gave a shit at that point. And I was I was disheartened, but at the same time, the market for VC was going, south.
Yeah.
So what happened was, in this other company that I started, it was called Ability. It was a wearable data company. I hired Rakesh Thapa, who's my CTO at Ability.
Yeah.
And so he was this, whiz kid, ex-cybersecurity guy working with DARPA, and turns out, he was like, I've got to go up to Silicon Valley for a couple of weeks. I was like, what are you going to have to do? He goes, well, I built a blockchain startup. It took me 3 months, and I'm selling it for $10 million to this company. I was like, what? Wait a minute,
Go on.
So I was like, what? Let me dust off this business plan and show it to you and see what you think.
Yeah.
And so he took the business plan, and he was like, well, dude, I could build this. And so we sat in front of a whiteboard for weekends at a time, just sort of going through this whole concept, and ended up coming up with something really, really solid. Ended up putting it out there, one pager, then a white paper, and talking to some people, and raised $10 million.
That's awesome. Have you thought of any other ways that this technology can impact the music industry or the event industry? Or
I have thought about it. I haven't really, because it's such a big problem. There's so many different. The industry of ticketing itself, with StubHub and all these sorts of fraudulent activities happening in the background, I feel like it's a big enough problem to try and solve. And so I haven't really delved into it in more detail. But as to say, as someone who's a budding musician, I sort of feel like, well, what? Maybe this could also be the ICO type of business model is something that I could also use to fund an album, my next album. Why can't I sell membership, essentially in the form of NFTs, to a whole bunch of people who might want my album, and they can get royalty rights. So similar to sort of an Ujo or a Tune. I thought of that as being something I was interested in, but it's just another beast. I've got one beast that I've got to fix. When I get to that next beast, I'll fix that beast.
That's awesome.
Yeah.
That's awesome. Well, thank you so much for the conversation. I really appreciate it. It's been a pleasure to talk to you.
Thanks very much.
I'm sure we'll keep the conversation going.
Thanks a lot.
All right, thanks.